Hello everyone! Welcome to the long-awaited, long-overdue video versus Imposter V4, ranking all the songs worst to best. I'm not going to waste too much time with this, so just to go ahead and start things off, I will say what songs don't count. Anything that was in version 5 or V3 beforehand, none of that counts. Only stuff from V4's OST. Also, nothing that was cancelled or scrapped or unfinished. Just the base stuff that was finished, completed, and put in the mod. So sorry, but there's no double trouble or whatever it was called, and there's no triple trouble cover. Besides, that was just a cover. It wouldn't make it in the list regardless of even if it had been finished. So yeah, none of that counts. There's two others as well that also don't count. I'm not counting Alpha Mungus, because it's just an old version of Sussus Mungus, but made worse, pretty much. And it kind of sucks, and I don't feel like talking about it. And Actin' Sus also doesn't count, because as it turns out, it's like a full-on cover, but it doesn't even have the decency to put it in tune, so just out of spite, I'm not counting it. So yeah, those two songs don't count. But everything else is fair game. And fun fact for y'all, in my notes, when I've been looking over a lot of these different mods, this one had a nickname, and that nickname was Hot Take Hell, because I have a pretty a strong feeling that there are going to be a lot of songs in here that people are going to heavily disagree with me. And that's fine. Don't take my opinion as, oh, well, I guess that's the definitive rank for the song. No, this is just my opinions. These are where I'd rank the songs, so, yeah. Without any further delay, let's just go ahead and get started. I mean, what were you expecting to take last place? It's just a bad song. And for those of you who are hoping that Neo's gonna crash out because of top 10. No, I'm not. Because this song gives me nothing. It's just a purposely bad joke song. And I'm tired of it, man. I'm just so tired of it. There's nothing good here.
That was the single most boring thing ever.
Shoemate might just be the single most boring song in all of Friday Night Funkin'. Never mind, Dreams from Trepidation exists. However, this one's still one of the most there is nothing to say about this song. None of the melodies are good, outside of a small duet section, which is, I guess, semi-nice. The compression of this song doesn't make it any better, it just makes it worse. The song actively gets me tired. I don't like Shoemate. I don't like Tamungus. I don't like this week. I wish it was never here, but whatever, moving on.
Hamster.
Tamungus Tuesday is so boring. It's not nearly as boring as Shoemate, I guess, but that's it's not really that big of a gap. They're both horribly boring. This is the kind of thing that puts babies to sleep. It's really slow and really dragged out and so friggin' bland. None of the melodies are creative. They're all boring and they all suck. This song is completely useless and doesn't really belong in the mod. Tamungus already had his 3 songs. He did not need a free play bonus song that just so happens to be non-pixelated from a visual standpoint, which doesn't make sense because the vocals are compressed anyway. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. It's just stupid, it's boring, it's horrible! The only plus that I could possibly give this stupid song is the fact that it has a really kind of silly animation at the end that's kind of funny. But also, that's not part of the song, so the song doesn't get any benefit from that. God, this one just sucks. I'm so bored already of talking about this mod just because of this stupid Tomungus.
I want to die.
Alright, finally we're done with boring songs. Now we have crew aside. What? What? Okay. So, this one's really bad. Like, it doesn't bore me, thus it gets higher. Same can go for, like, the next few songs. But still, this one's really bad. I feel like I have to actively strain my ears just to listen to the Among Us character, because I can barely hear him. He's so stinking quiet. How am I supposed to enjoy the song if I can barely hear the vocals in it? Some of the song feels spammy, the instrumental feels extremely messy, there's no tone here, it's just noise, that's all this song is, it's just noise! Oh, there's nothing to this one.
You look like Freddy Fazbear. What are you gonna say now?
What is Germa doing in this mod? Why is he here? I mean, I guess it's kind of funny seeing him here. I actually didn't know who he was until much later, and then I figured it out, and it's like, oh, that's Germa. That's kind of funny. I don't really watch any of Germa's content. I just see clips of him, and I think it's funny. But, yeah, I don't like this song. Much at all. Germa's chromatic is really bad, and it's just... It doesn't sound at all like him. The instrumental is very bland and very nothing. None of the melodies stick to me, like, at all. Like, there's not a melody I can remember from this song. Other than, I guess, maybe the beginning, but, like, even then... I just did not like Insane Streamer.
When the imposter is us.
Don't expect any of Tomungus' songs to rank high because they are all really bad. This one's just nowhere near as mind-numbingly empty and soulless as the other two I've mentioned. The only part of this song that I remember is the fact that they put the "When the Imposter is Sus" line in there. That's it. Nothing else about this song sticks out to me. Feels like all of the melodies are lazy and uninspired. The ending feels especially messy and horrendously empty. Like, this song feels like the composer was half asleep making it. Then again, I guess you could also apply that to Shoemate and Tomungus Tuesday. Felt like the team was just sleeping through most of it. The only song that has seemingly some remote level of quality is the one that I haven't mentioned yet, and it's still really, really bad, but we'll get there when we get there. Yeah, Rivals just sucks. All of Tomungus' songs suck. Tomungus easily has my least favorite week out of all of them, because there is not one good song in it. They are all bad.
When the imposter is us.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yeah.
I mean, the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
Who is basically... Where do I start? Okay, so... Waffles from Versus FNAF 3 was one of my favorite songs from that mod because not only did they incorporate all of the voice lines in a rhythmic way, even doubling over some of the words to make it fit really well, but they also created chromatics in order to fit the characters super well and sound good. So they did everything right with Waffles. Who is basically exactly like Waffles, except instead of doing everything right, it does everything wrong. The only enjoyable part of the song, for me, is just the skit from the original video, which is such a fundamental failure. Sure, it's a funny reference, I guess, but they don't make a song out of it. I mean, they kinda do. The instrumental is okay, I guess. But both of the chromatics are just not fun to listen to. Well, and I don't mean when they're talking normally, I just mean when they're having their back and forth usual FNF vocals. They don't sound good because they sound completely out of tune, but and I get they're probably atonals, but they just don't feel like atonals, and it's this really weird valley of music that I don't know what to do with. All I know is that I don't like this song. I thought I would like it because, again, similar songs in other mods have done this concept really well, of taking in the dialogue and then making a good beat out of it. And who got halfway there? It made a good instrumental, but then it fundamentally failed everywhere else because most of the song is just the skit, instead of most of the song being an actual beat. That's not... Oh, that's so bad. That's really all there is to this song. It's just a fundamental failure.
Get it? I'm gonna kill everyone, starting with you! Aha! So it was you all along!
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Here we have Blackout. Ow, my ears hurt because here we have my mortal enemy. Of all the characters, I hate Gray more than anything else from this mod. He is my passion, which I hate. I despise this character, not because of any writing or design, none of that. That's all fine. The way he's like supposed to be an apprentice to Black is kind of cool. The design is alright. You know what I hate? This chromatic, because my ears are bleeding. Okay, that's not entirely true. I have gotten used to some parts of the song, because admittedly, the reason this one's scoring as high as it is because there are a lot of really solid melodies in a song like this. I can admit to that. There are good melodies here and there. Problem is every time Gray hits a high note, or even just a slight high note, it's pain. It's so insufferable, and this is easily the most noticeable that it gets this bad. And it's a shame, because again, melodies are fine, instrumentals pretty alright. But this chromatic, so bad. When your chromatic gives me a complete headache or makes me actively flinch from just the sound, it's an F tier at best. Unless you have some other really strong redeeming factor. Like another song in this mod, which we'll get to later. But then there's one other sin that this one commits. There's one other atrocity that Blackout commits to. It's a fake out. After this long instrumental pause, then you think it's over. Nope, it comes it back. But it's not satisfying. It's not a good melody. It just ends up feeling like spam at the very end. What was the thought process here? Did everybody on this team listen to this chromatic and think, yeah, that's completely fine. That's not nails on a chalkboard type of chromatic. Blackout is painful. Because the melodies are decent, but this chromatic is just so bad. And somehow the fake out makes it even worse.
You've killed a Glen murderer! Hold your fire! This man isn't black!
Neurotic is basically Blackout, except they traded in the strengths and weaknesses. What do I mean by that? I mean this. Gray never really makes me recoil from his vocals in this song, not to the same extent as it is in Blackout. There's still some unpleasant parts, especially near the ending. But overall, this song is super boring melody-wise. I barely remember anything from this one. Like, yeah, no. The instrumental also feels really nothing to me. At least Blackout, there was good melodies. But even then, when it came down to it, I would happily take Neurotic over Blackout, because Neurotic I can listen to all the way through without getting a headache. I can't do that with Blackout. But they're both still really bad songs. That's really all I have to say. It's just a song where the melodies don't land, Gray's vocals are still not good, and the pacing of the song just feels like it just drags. It's just bad. Ugh. Oh, well, I guess this slow part is kind of nice, and Gray's vocals actually sound alright here. I'll give him credit. The slow part's not bad. But it's like one turn and then it's over.
I'm the imposter.
This is the best of Among Us, and it still sucks! Yay! The only good thing I can name about the fact of this song is the fact that the instrumental has some energy to it, which is... I mean, I guess that's something. It certainly brings more energy than the other three combined, but it's still not saying much. The song also confuses me, because even though visually it's compressed, audio-wise it's not at all, so it's basically the exact opposite of Among Us Tuesday, which... What? Why? That doesn't make sense! It's super repetitive during the middle, and that's a shame because that's the only good melody, is the reference that gets repeated over and over again. Because every other melody in this song just feels like a drunk person was making it. There is no cohesion or flow to this song. It just makes a noise and hopes it works, and then it repeats the exact same one melody that it knows is good. Another thing I don't like about this song, I don't like Boyfriend's Chromatic. It sounds weird and just does not fit in this song. Ugh. This one's unfortunate, because I actually used to kind of like this song. Back when I first heard it, I thought this one was actually pretty darn good, but the more and more I listen to it, the worse it gets. Primarily just because, well, there's actually a few reasons. This specific Among Us bean, I don't know if it's just me, but he sounds really quiet in the mix. Like, more so than pretty much any other song, I feel like I barely ever hear him. That's a bit... yeah, I don't exactly like it that much. The instrumental is decent, it's the best part of the song, for sure. I actually was pretty invested the moment I first heard this instrumental. I thought it was going to be pretty good, but like I said, the more and more I listened to it, the worse it got. That's just because this whole song feels kind of one note. Like, after a while, you just kind of get bored of it. I feel like I've said that now a few times, and the sad part is that it's just how I feel about some of these songs. They had their charm, but they lose that charm real quick after a while, compared to a lot of other songs which are just bangers. Not to mention, this one feels pretty dragged out. In fairness, it's not that long. It's not even 3 minutes. It's only about 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Regardless, it still somehow feels dragged out, with no real moment in my head standing out outside of the opening instrumental. And the rest of it just kind of feels like white noise. Nothing that bothers me, but nothing that sticks. And you know what the biggest shame of all of that is? The fact that I just recently learned through the polls that this one's not even original. It's apparently a cover. I mean, I guess I can say this much: they at least kept the song in tune, and at least sounds like they tried with this one. So I give them credit there, but that's still not saying much.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Christmas is basically just Jingle Bells, but in Friday Night Funkin' Among Us edition. Melody is extremely repetitive. I really don't like Logo's chromatic. I think it sounds... meh. It's just an extremely boring chromatic, and somehow sounds worse than most of the other standard Among Us chromatics, because this one just feels really boring. But I'll talk more about the chromatic in the next entry. The instrumental, I guess, exists. Some of the melodies sound nice on paper, but... meh. This song exists, and is pretty insignificant, and pretty in one ear and out the other, and... it's so low energy for something that's supposed to embody the joy of Christmas, and again, being a cover of Jingle Bells, you would expect it to actually try and have some energy and bounce and fun to it. Instead, this song feels... boring.
And a Happy New Year.
Imposter. See, okay, I mentioned that Among Us has my least favorite of the weeks in this mod, and I would say that the Christmas week, Logos' Christmas, is, yeah, it's a pretty good runner-up, because neither of these songs stick with me. While Christmas was just kind of a boring, repetitive, very basic song, at least it fit its function fine enough. Imposter is just... I mean, I guess it's a little bit better. I genuinely like that opening, but... I mean, I guess there's another thing that I do like. And I also don't like it at the same time. The spam parts of the song... Logos' spam notes do actually have a nice ring to them. Like, surprisingly enough, they sound fine. So that's good. That's what's making this song rank as high as it is. That sounds pretty good, and the opening sounds good. However, I have a lot of other little quarrels. For one, every other part that's not that big spammy part isn't very memorable or good. It just kind of feels like it's there, and then it's not. Goes in one ear and out the other, and I cannot remember it for the life of me. But here's the bigger issue. It feels like half of the time, I either cannot hear Boyfriend or I cannot hear Logos. I can't hear one or the other. And it's constant throughout most of the song that one of their vocals will be very, very quiet to the point where I have to struggle to hear them. Which is not a fun experience. And the biggest weakness of all, the instrumental is super bland and has, like, nothing going for it. Yeah, this one's, not really one I'm a fan of. Just like everything else I've mentioned. Drippy Pop? I mean, I knew they were gonna include this joke in the mod, and admittedly, like, this isn't the worst song ever, but I have several complaints. Number one, I'm not really a fan of a lot of the melodies in this one. Like, the melodies are fine, but they feel kind of nothing unless they're a reference melody, in which case then it's alright, but I'm really not also a fan of the Among Us characters chromatic here. It's very high-pitched and honestly just kind of, it's not very satisfying to listen to. It makes Boyfriend hard to hear at a couple of points in the songs, which is weird because that should be the opposite. Then there's the build-up section, which is actually pretty decent. The problem is that it builds up to absolutely nothing, because when you have a big build like that, it should lead into a pop-off, or it should lead into a more energetic part of the song. It shouldn't lead into a part of the song that's even more tame and held back than something earlier in the song, such as the beginning, which is exactly what Drippy Pop does. And I just don't like that. It ends up just feeling super... And again, there are some decent references in here. It's just like, that's all the song really has going for it, is a couple of decent references that are better executed in a lot of other songs. Oh yeah, there's one kind of neat thing. Pico's in this song. I'll give him credit. Pico actually sounds pretty good in this part. That's kind of neat. That's about it, I guess. Yeah, this one is, again, another very forgettable song.
You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
One of the reasons that this video was nicknamed Hot Take Hell was because of this in the next song. I don't think Defeat is very good. Actually, if anything, I think it's kind of bad. It's not awful or anything, but I do find it kind of bad. I'll get some pros out of the way. For one, I really like the opening. It sets up the song super well, and it intrigued me quite a bit, and then the rest of the song completely fell flat after those first two turns. I guess the instrumental is decent. It definitely helps Black feel like an intimidating character. But I have a lot of problems otherwise. Starting off, most of the song just end up feeling like constant note spam. Like, there wasn't really a huge amount of melody here to the song. I mean, I guess there are a few parts where there is some decent melody, but even then, it just kind of feels meh. If it's not spam, then I end up not really liking the melody, outside of the opening. Something else I don't like, the song definitely feels very slow in terms of its pacing. Like, it feels like it's going nowhere. It's just kind of trudging through, and I really hate the way that this song just feels to listen to. The flashback part is cool in concept. The problem is, Black's chromatic absolutely sucks in this part for being way too high-pitched and way too clicky, and I end up hating the way it sounds. I really thought that that part was cool in concept, don't get me wrong, but it does not sound good in the execution. And then here's my biggest problem. Unlike another song we'll mention, Victory, I don't think this song at all gives off the feel or vibe that you've lost. This just feels like a generic battle between Black. It doesn't at all give off the vibes that he's winning or you've lost. This just feels like a fight. Not at all like what the song name implies. I don't feel like I've lost. I just feel like I'm getting started.
Hello. Oh my. Yet another victim of the disease.
And here it is. Another hot take. I think Identity Crisis is a pretty mixed bag when it comes to a song. There are good elements, and there's a lot of really bad stuff here. So, let's go into some of my pros first. That way we can start this entry off on a good note. Number 1, Monochrome here. I think that's his name. I'm pretty sure that's what it was labeled as in the wiki. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure his name is Monochrome. Editing Neo here. Yeah, his name is Monotone. I got it wrong. I thought it was Monochrome. That's my bad. You don't have to comment it. Anyway, I really like the design behind him. I love Plague Doctor stuff, so immediately I thought that this design looked awesome. The idea of him being a shapeshifter is a really good concept, and it's pretty cool. His chromatic definitely sounds fine in a vacuum, but yeah, we'll get to my issue with it in a later. But what else do I like about this song? Oh yeah, there's some really strong melodies here and there. Like I said, here and there. Most of the song's melodies are just kind of okay, not really bad, but none of them stick all that well outside of a couple of really strong ones. And the instrumental is very good. It's extremely well made, and I give total respect in that regard. Okay, now we're going to get into my problems, because I've got a lot of them. So, to start, you know I mentioned Monochrome is a shapeshifter, and that's a really cool concept? Yeah, they barely do that idea justice. In fact, they don't. It's so pathetic here. So for one, he shapeshifted his boyfriend in the beginning. That's really cool. That's about it. It's only for the opening. That's all. That's great. Oh, I love that. Thanks. You gave us this cool concept, and he only uses the boyfriend shapeshifting in the very beginning. Okay, I mean, I guess I could forgive it if he does some other cool stuff with the shapeshifting technique. Who else does he turn into? Oh, just red, green, and black. That's it. No white, no yellow, no pink, no maroon, no gray. Nope. None of them. None of the free play characters. None of the bonus ones. None of the ones from the extra weeks. Just red, green, and black. You give him a total of 4 shifting abilities. Like four people he can shift into. And red and green happen to sound the exact same for the most part. But then you take it a step further, and Monochrome's chromatic sounds about the same as black's chromatic. Meaning, red and green sound about the same, and monochrome and black sound about the same, but all 4 of them end up sounding the same throughout the entire song, meaning I can't tell who's who. Oh, Identity Crisis suffers the most from the whole issue of a lot of these chromatics being very similar. And that ruins it so badly. So they do the bare minimum, not even that, for the shapeshifting stuff. Okay, that's frustrating. Most of the song feels kind of dragged out with a lot of pausing in it, which hurts it even more. There's not a lot of great melodies. There's a couple of really good ones, which is why the song is as high as it is, that and the instrumental. And then on top of that, the OST upload has a very unnecessary giant 30-second pause at the very end, which absolutely frustrates me to no end. The song doesn't really feel satisfying by the end. It just doesn't have any real weight to it. Also, the whole 5-minute song length, and it feels like it barely goes anywhere by the end. Man, I honestly probably wouldn't even feel bad if I had ranked this song significantly lower, just for all of these problems. But I guess there are some good melodies here and there, and again, the instrumental is really good. But that's all that's saving this one. Because otherwise, this might be, just from all of the issues, this might have the most problems in it out of any song from this OST. And the one that frustrated me more than any, just because of its overbearing lack of really enough. It just feels like so many missed opportunities were here, and the whole song ends up feeling very, very underwhelming. on to the songs that are pretty much just mid, starting with Sussus Tugas, the most popular song in Green's Week, and I think it's the worst. Well, I don't think it's bad necessarily, we're out of that field, but I still would not say I like this one. In fact, I really don't like Green's Week in general. It basically just feels like Red's Week, except with less charm and way more notes in almost every song. It just ends up feeling like artificial difficulty. It doesn't feel like the notes flow with more of them. In fact, Sussus Tugas suffers the most when it comes down to its extra notes. Because now the beat feels too quick, but the instrumental feels too slow, and I really do not like that. And the song also just ends up feeling way too long, and worst of all, Green has the exact same chromatic as Red, which just makes the whole thing significantly worse. Yeah, no, I don't like Green's Week. Sure, this beat is fine enough, but still. Oh, and we're not done with my issues, because there's something else I don't like about this song. The saxophone part, despite how cool it is, just being there, and the fact that it does sound nice, the saxophone's just too dang quiet! I really should be able to hear that better, especially when that's the focus, and instead it just feels like it's in the background and barely audible. That really sucks and killed my enjoyment of that bit, I'm gonna be completely honest. Also, the ending feels very sloppy and put together kind of last minute. Like, and then just one more issue, the kazoo in the instrumental gets very annoying after a couple of listens to this song. Like, I used to think this one was fine a while ago, like back when I first heard it, but the more and more I listened to it, the more these problems just began to take center stage, especially that dumb repetitive kazoo that I don't like. Yeah, Sussus Tugas is my easy least favorite, but it's not like the rest of Green's Week is doing that much better, except for one. We'll get there in a bit. Lights Down is a remix of Sabotage, just like Sussus Tugas was a remix of Sussus Mungus, and like Reactor is a remix of Meltdown. And just like the others, yeah, Lights Down is just a worse Sabotage in my eyes. Kinda like Sussus Tugas is a worse Sussus Mungus, and Reactor is a worse Meltdown. Oop! Anyway, not spoiling the rest of this ranking. So why don't I really like Lights Down very much? Well, there's a couple reasons. For one, this song doesn't have much that I can really hook myself to. The melodies feel very fast-paced, and I guess that's not a bad thing, but it ends up making the song feel kind of bland for me. I guess, I don't know. None of the melodies stick all that much, except for the duet parts, which are pretty good, but that's like the only part of the song where I really remember it well. I don't know, Lights Down's just kind of mid. I really don't have much for this one. It's just in one ear and then out the other, and that's all I have to say on this song.
The password is very, you have to hack it.
I have to hack it?
Understood.
Apparently, a lot of people hated room code when it first came into the mod. I could sort of understand that, because I also used to not like the song, but again, after listening to this OST so many times, room code kind of grew a little bit on me, to the point where I consider the song kind of a balance of good elements and bad elements. For one, Pico sounds pretty good, and I like his freestyle in the beat. It's kind of nice. Cyan's chromatic is very weird and unorthodox, and I mean, I guess it's not a bad chromatic, but also I would hesitate to say it's a good chromatic, you know? Like, it's just kind of a weird chromatic. Not good or bad, necessarily. The very quick back and forths are kind of nice to listen to. The instrumental is fine. And, the bit where he pulls out the saxophone is really charming, and yeah, I don't know, it sticks out to me a lot, and I love how Pico just freestyles on the saxophone beat. I don't know, this song's just kind of got a charm to it that some of the others just don't have. So, I give it credit for that, but otherwise, I'll admit this one doesn't really land for me as much as I wish it could have. It's got elements that I enjoy, but it just kind of feels unfinished.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
We're almost at the songs I like, and Pretender was so close to a B tier, it's actually frustrating. Cause I love this melody. It's really good, and is so bouncy and energetic, and Pink sounds amazing. Pink is one of my favorite chromatics of all the Imposter characters. And the instrumental is pretty good, so what's the big problem? He's standing right there. Gray, why? You know how I mentioned that Neurotic? He doesn't sound all that bad. He sounds a little bad at parts, but otherwise it's not too bad, whereas in Blackout he was outright, like, painful to listen to. Yeah, Blackout Syndrome again, because there are multiple parts where Gray's vocals are just really painful. And yeah, that was what really held this one back for me. I adore the melody and the back and forths, and the overall beat is all really, really strong. But Gray just ruined it for me. And honestly, I envy the people that don't get bothered by Gray's vocals, because they probably have a great time with songs like Blackout and Pretender. Probably Neurotic too. But for me, it's just not possible. Gray's vocals are just so bad, and they're so... they just drive me away. Oh no, not another song that I can't say. Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna try. Exclusive? No, okay, I said I wasn't gonna try. I'm not going to. This song is pretty okay. Okay, I gotta obviously talk more about it. I can't just say song's okay, move on. First of all, like I said before, visuals do not affect the song's ranking, but I gotta admit, I like the design behind this guy. It's pretty decent. The melodies are... they're good. The ending is especially good. I mean, it feels a bit cut off near the end, which is a little weird. Brown's Chromatic, I think that's what they call this character. Yeah, well, I'm just whatever, that's what I'm gonna call him. Brown's Chromatic is actually pretty decent, and I like it. It's unique. The instrumental is definitely very good. The slow part drags the song out, and that's what kind of makes this one lower for me. This song is only... wait, how long is it? 3 minutes and 44 seconds! On one hand, I'm surprised, and on the other hand, I'm surprised for a completely different reason. Okay, so a part of me thinks that this song is longer because it really does feel like it's a 5-minute song. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that it just feels like it's just going on, and you're not really getting anywhere up until the ending. On the other hand, I always kind of had a part of me that thought that that was just bad pacing of the song, and that the song actually was maybe about 3 minutes. But no, it's almost 4 minutes, so it's kind of exactly where both of those ends meet. It's not as long as you think it is, but at the same time, it feels longer than it is, which is a very bad thing for an FNF song. And in this case, yeah, it was the real damaging factor of the song. Because otherwise, the beat is pretty good, and the ending is especially nice. The problem is that I feel like I've listened to 5 minutes worth of song before we finally get to the ending, and it doesn't really make it worth it in the end. If this song didn't have as much, I guess it was just better paced, I would probably like this song quite a bit, actually. Because I can see a lot of good elements here. Brown's vocals are good, the instrumental is especially good, there's a good amount of creepy charm to it. And like I said, the ending does have a lot of good impact. The ending is just way too short for how kind of mid the rest of the middle of the song is. Thus making the pacing the worst part of the song, which is not a common problem that I tend to have with FNF songs. But here, yeah, it's very, very noticeable. And it's very unfortunate. Saboteur! Sabotage. This might have, like, the least to talk about out of most of the songs I've brought up, outside of the ones that were just so boring I didn't feel like talking about them very much. And it's not that Sabotage is boring. I just don't feel like there's a lot here to talk about. The instrumental is pretty good. I really like the main melody throughout the song. I think it sounds nice. The duets are good. The beat, like I said, is solid. But there is one very large critical issue that I have with Sabotage. It's Boyfriend's long notes. Red doesn't really hold notes due to his chromatic, which, by the way, is pretty good. But because of that, it leaves basically every time Boyfriend has a long note at the end of each duet section or turn, it ends up just feeling kind of irritating. Like, after so many re-listens of this song in particular, I just end up getting really tired of this one just due to its constant emptiness with BF's long notes. Oh yeah, the bit where GF kind of comes in as a ghost, I think that sounds really nice, and that whole little section sounds really good. But otherwise, I don't know, Sabotage kind of feels dragged out, and I'm really not a big fan of Boyfriend's long notes just feeling very empty. Because then there's just those few little seconds of silence, and I guess it's not silent, but you get what I mean. I'm really not a fan of how this one ended up being executed in the end. I wouldn't say I dislike it, because again, this beat is good, but it does bother me.
Green, what's your problem, Green? What is your problem?
I'll be completely honest, I don't have a lot to say for Reactor that I haven't already said about Sasas Tugas or Lights Down. A lot of my problems with those two songs apply here as well. Green's chromatic, the extra notes just making it feel like artificial difficulty, it's dragged out. Green's chromatic again. However, I guess a unique problem with Reactor is the fact that because of how fast-paced this song is, it ends up feeling like a lot of spam during multiple parts. The beat drops are especially underwhelming because of this, mainly on account that I just don't think Green sounds very good in those parts. Ace just ends up coming across as very overbearing and just a worse Meltdown. But, because I think Meltdown is the best of Red's week, oh, big spoiler there, obviously Reactor is going to be better than the prior two of Green's songs. Like, that should have been pretty obvious. And if there is one thing that I think Reactor does have that is worthy of some praise, the instrumental is very good. I like it a lot. However, it's really the only thing about this song that sticks out to me as something that I truly enjoyed. Because otherwise, everything here is just the same problems that I had with the other two songs for Green's Week. Maybe to a lesser extent, but they are still problems that exist in this song.
Torture, which I do.
Torture! This one's actually pretty interesting. So, all three chromatics sound pretty good. The instrumental it's honestly well done. I'll give it that. The ending is peak. It sounds so good. Also, the bit with Rosebud is really funny. All of the melodies are decent. Not great or anything, but they're decent. I have to respect the fact that so many different composers worked on the different turns of this mod, or this song in specific. Because it definitely doesn't come off that way. Like, just listening to this song, it doesn't feel like a bunch of different composers. It feels like it was all thought out really well, and I respect it for that. However, the more I listen to this one, the more you do notice how different some of the melodies can be. Thus, leaving me to feel like the flow could have been a little bit better. And I feel like the entire song before the Rosebud part and then the peak ending isn't the most memorable thing ever, and it does kind of feel a bit generic. However, like I said, Rosebud bit is hilarious and the ending is fire. It's so good. I just wish the rest of the song was just as good. I'm gonna be honest, Victory's kind of overrated. I don't dislike it, I think it's alright, but I think it's extremely overrated. People will consider this one of the best songs of the mod, and I disagree. However, I do have a couple of pluses for this song. So, for one, I think it captures the feel and vibe of winning. Like, it really does give off the energy that, yeah, you've won. Something Defeat completely and totally failed to do for me. So I give all the respect in that regard. It captures exactly the tone it's going for. The instrumental is decent. I like some of the melodies here and there. They don't stick all that well for me, and that's part of the reason this song is ranking as low as it is, just because I find this one to be kind of forgettable in terms of just its melodies. Like, again, the melodies are fine. I like the overall beat, but I struggle to remember this one nearly as much as so many other songs I have ranked higher, and hell, some of the songs I have ranked lower I find more memorable, whether that be for the good or bad reasons. But Victory just kind of doesn't really have much impact on me. Warchief sounds really good. I actually very much enjoy his chromatic in both songs he's used in. Gelquir, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I don't know. I usually just call him white, even though apparently he's not white. He's like a cream color or something. I don't know. I really don't. Both him and Warchief sound good. They don't sound great, but they sound good. I like Warchief better. Then there's I'm just gonna call him Blue. Blue sounds good, however, his chromatic being paired alongside Warchief and the other dude, it feels very distracting because of how different it is. Blue sounds just like a normal crewmate, but with some reverb on his vocals. It sounds nice, but because of how different it is from the other two, it ends up just feeling like too much of a contrast, which is a bit of a shame for me. I like the ending, it sounds nice. I just find this one personally very overrated, and I never got into it all that much compared to so many other people. If you love this one, I could totally see why. This one's just not a song that clicked for me all that well.
I keep having this nagging feeling that I've forgotten something.
Hey, if you forgot it, it probably wasn't all that important.
Yeah, I guess.
Shipping is perfectly fine. Not a song that I love, but I think it's alright. It's a little bit on the slow side, but at the same time, I can't help but like it. The beat's pretty good, instrumental's solid enough. Both vocals have a good amount of chemistry with each other. I just think this song is overall pretty decent. I don't have any huge gripe with it. I mean, I guess it's a little bit on the forgettable side, if I'm being completely honest. I forget this song exists half the time, since there's a better song that goes by a very similar name. But still, every time I hear this one, I think, yeah, it's pretty good. It just gets pretty easily overshadowed, and this one is on the very short side, which it does kind of hurt it a bit. Also, shipping feels extremely repetitive, and it also kind of just feels unfinished. Like, out of any song from this mod, this one feels like it needed more time, more than any other. Turbulence. Turbulence is kind of underrated, I won't even lie. Like, some people just outright dismiss this song, and I don't think that's fair. I think Turbulence is pretty good. I like Red Mungus's chromatic. It's fitting and unique, and I like the way it sounds. Some people hate it. Okay. I don't really see why. I think it sounds good. This song is pretty silly and goofy and has a fun nature to it that I enjoy. I like a lot of the melodies, even if they are pretty repetitive. The ending sounds strong. I guess if I had anything to complain about, it would be that the instrumental feels very lacking. Like, there's not a lot going on here in this instrumental, and it is the most noticeably weak part of the song. Because vocal-wise, everything sounds fine. Beat is... melodies, that's all good. It's just, whenever I listen to the instrumental, it feels very empty. There's barely anything going on here. Maroon's Weak is very underrated in my opinion. And Magmatic is one of these songs. I quite like this one, actually. I love the sound effect of the radio in the very beginning. That's really nice. This whole opening is really solid, and then the latter half of the song is alright. I really like the instrumental. Hell, I love all of the instrumentals for Maroon songs. Magmatic is the weakest when it comes down to instrumental, I'll admit that, mainly because I don't feel like it's synced as much as it should be. The melodies are pretty good, I can't even lie. I just feel like there's a weird disconnect for this song. Like, the main melody used in the intro, and it comes up a few other times in the song, feels just too different from a lot of the slower parts of the song, where the instrumental is popping off more. Speaking of pop-off, that pop-off is surprisingly good. I'm not entirely sure why people love to hate all of Maroon's songs. Well, except Boiling Point, that one tends to not get much hate, which, fair enough. But I honestly like Magmatic. It's a solid song. A bit weird in terms of how it's all structured, but overall, I think this one has a lot of good elements that I enjoyed. D-Lo! About time we got to Airship Atrocities. About, you know, it's been we haven't gotten to this week yet. Finally here. D-Lo is honestly really nice. I found myself kind of jamming out to this one pretty often. It's nice. It's simple. I like Yellow's chromatic. It's very similar to Red and Green's, which is a little bit unfortunate. But at the same time, Yellow's only in 2 songs, so it's not that bad. Compared to Green, who has 3 to 4, and then appears later in the mod. Oh, whatever. Yellow at least feels more distinct thanks to a much more bouncy and high-pitched chromatic, which does help make him stand out a bit more. Not to mention, Yellow's just very silly. I love his poses. They don't influence the music like I've mentioned. It's just I like Yellow. He's just a silly little boy. Speaking of which, this whole song is just nice and simple. The melodies are pretty solid. I really like the ending with how high-pitched Yellow's chromatic gets without feeling painful. Great! So, yeah, D-Lo is pretty solid. Similarly to Turbulence, the instrumental is very lackluster, and it's the real big issue here with the song, because it just lacks that energy that I think D-Lo could really have. It's bouncy and fun, but that's mostly because of the vocals. The instrumental just feels like it's missing something, and I always feel like that whenever I hear this song.
I'm going to kill you and then kill you again.
Double kill. I'm not gonna lie, this one is a really good song, but it's also extremely frustrating. So to end this off on a positive note for this entry, because I know a lot of people love this song, I'm gonna go over all of my major gripes real quick. Major gripe number 1, and the thing that held this song so far back from being any higher, this one is repetitive as all hell. Okay, there is a lot of variety in terms of melody here and there. However, its major melody, especially near the end of the song before the final segment, is very repetitive, and I do not like it. It just ends up feeling like it's going on and on and on and on. It's like, okay, you can cut that out now. And by that point in the song, that melody, for as good as it is the first 2 times it comes up, it's just not all that satisfying. Sure, it's sped up, so it's a little bit different, but in the end, I just don't really like it by that point, because I'll just be tired of hearing it. Maybe if they had cut out the middle section, not only would the song have been shorter, which probably would have been a little bit better for Double Kill, but it also would have reduced that feeling of constant repetition. White also sounds a little bit quiet at some points in the song and just completely gets overshadowed by Black. White sounds good when White's the only one singing, or alongside Boyfriend, because then White is audible, but when it's White and Black's duets, White is almost impossible to make out, which is a very big shame. And another big problem that I have with Double Kill is the lack of opportunities taken. This song screams missed potential in a ton of regards. The big one being, Boyfriend not having girlfriend sing with him. This would have probably boosted the song a great deal for me if girlfriend got to sing with BF, because the song is called Double Kill, yet BF is the only one who gets killed in the end. So it's a lie. The title is clickbait. It also would have prevented Boyfriend from having his voice loop in on itself during the chorus of the song. Because whenever White and Black duet, Boyfriend then sounds like he's duetting with himself, and it just sounds really weird and makes the whole bit with BF kind of Because then I'm just distracted by the fact that I'm hearing two BF voices. Having GF be the one to sing alongside BF would have completely removed that problem, and it would have made the song significantly more memorable, and it would have made the title, make more sense, and it would have given GF some spotlight time since she's never playable in this mod, which I can't necessarily complain too much about because that was just very common at the time of mods like these. Girlfriend wasn't really focused on much in terms of mods. She was either just eye candy, or she was just kind of there in the background, or she just straight up wasn't there at all. Okay, that's all of my complaints. Now I'm going to get some of the good things out of the way to finish this off. Number one, this instrumental is fire. It's really, really, really good. I love the instrumental. Two, I really like the chorus. Even though it's repetitive, I'll admit it does sound good and it is a strong melody. I like the way that the song opens up. I think that's good. I think that the final intense section during that final bit, although it has problems, does still sound pretty good. And, of course, my biggest compliment is the very end, where it's just Black and Boyfriend. That bit sounds phenomenal and is executed super well, and really does make the end of the song end on the highest note it could. So overall, there's a lot of good and a lot of bad in Double Kill, which kind of balances it out. However, I still find myself enjoying the song from time to time. I'd be lying if I said that I constantly revisit this as much as I do with a lot of others, which even though some of the songs higher up do have their issues, they don't have nearly as many glaring issues that frustrate me compared to a song like Double Kill. Still, I love this song for what it's doing. I just see so much more that this song could do. Here we have Danger. This one's kind of underrated in my opinion. Unlike Defeat, which just gets so much attention that I do not think it's worth it, or Double Kill, where I can totally see the appeal and why some people would consider it one of the best, I just personally have too many issues with it to rank higher. Danger is one where I can not really understand why it's so overshadowed, because I think it's pretty good. Its major melody, the main chorus that is pretty good. It's a little bit too repetitive in the song, I get that, and I guess Black does have points where he could have been louder, because he does sound a bit quiet during some parts, which is a bit of a shame, and the song doesn't necessarily scream a chase music, if you will. However, just listening to the song, I really like the instrumental. I think it sounds great, and I think there's a lot of good melodies in between all the chorus bits. No part of this song is bad in terms of its melodies. Maybe a little bit underwhelming at times, maybe. But regardless, I still really enjoy this, just the way this song sounds. It's really good. It obviously could be better. Maybe use the chorus a little bit less often so it's not so repetitive. Maybe make Black and Boyfriend sound a bit longer, speed the song up to give it more of that chase feeling. And maybe the song could have been a bit longer, but as it is, I think Danger's underrated, and I enjoy it quite a bit.
sleep in bed, I will be there and watch over you.
Boiling Point. Another one of the more popular songs from the mod. I understand it, and I'll admit, I used to be very harsh on Boiling Point. I pretty much saw this as just another Defeat. That it wasn't worth the hype. And unlike Defeat, where I've listened to that song like 100 times, and I still think it's boring as all hell, Boiling Point grew on me immensely. I really enjoy this one. The instrumental is great, the major melody is very solid, and Maroon's vocals, although a little bit quiet at some points, do sound really good and they slide super well throughout the song. However, I don't think Boiling Point is flawless, and it does have a few small problems that I think could improve the song overall, even though this is a great one. Similarly to Danger, I do think that the main melody, the chorus, is repeated a bit too often and ends up making the song feel slightly more repetitive than it should be, which weakens it a bit for me. And its other big problem is the ending. Now, no, I don't think the ending sounds bad. Not at all. In fact, it's my favorite part of the song. It goes unnecessarily in and is just... it's so good! It goes way harder than I expected it to. So why am I citing it as a point of criticism? It should have been longer. It, feels way too short. Right as you're really getting into the most intense part of the ending, it just stops. And that sucks. I wish it was longer. The rest of the song didn't even have to be cut down. It could stay the exactly as it is. Just extend the ending and the song would have been better. Otherwise, there is a lot that I like here. Maroon's vocals are really good, the instrumental is solid, the melodies are pretty good, although a bit repetitive, and the ending goes in. I just wish this one was better. Great song, totally get if it's your favorite, but me personally, I can't really say that it is. Sauce with Orange. I think he has a different name. Same with Cyan from Room Code. I think his name was Powers, and this dude is Chef Ugas or something, but I don't care. I'm just calling them by their colors because that's easier for me. Anyways, this song was made by Saster, along with Heartbeat, which we'll get to later. And you know what? Even though I don't generally love Saster's music, sometimes he makes some really good songs and other times they just kind of feel to me. Both songs he made for vs. Imposter definitely ended up landing, which I like. Sauce Mugas, it took some time to grow on me, that's for sure. But when it did, I enjoyed this one quite a lot. Orange's chromatic is trumpet. I really like that. It's so charming and unique, and it really does work for me. The instrumental sounds very good, the back and forths are nice, the references feel a little bit on the forced side, and they kind of just come out of nowhere with no real build-up, especially the big one that happens around the middle of the track. And I do feel like this song could have been a little bit shorter, but as it stands, Sauce Mugas is a very fun time, and I enjoy it for what it is. I like a lot of other songs more than this one. But I'd be lying if I didn't admit that once I did get into this song, it put a pretty big smile on my face, just for its silly charm alone. And like I mentioned before, Heartbeat was made by Saster, along with Sasas Mugas. And I ended up preferring Heartbeat a pretty good deal. I don't absolutely love Heartbeat or anything, but I do like this one. It's cute, it's charming. It fits Pink really well and works as a good introduction song for her. The instrumental is nice to vibe to. Pink's vocals are easily the best. When it comes to any of the Among Us specific characters, Pink has the best vocals. Hands down. Not even a competition. I love the way they sound. There's a lot of fun melodies here and there. So why isn't it ranking higher? Similarly to Sasas Mugas, it's not necessarily any giant problem that lowers it. More or less, it's just, I think, the highs a lot of the other songs above this one have just help boost them higher. And, I guess Heartbeat isn't necessarily my favorite to go back to on re-listen. Sometimes I prefer going back to Sasas Mugas on re-listen. Just because Heartbeat does end up coming across as a little bit on the repetitive side and maybe could have been a bit quicker. Not shorter, but have a faster pace. Because as it is, Heartbeat does feel a little bit too slow for my liking. Like I said, no giant issue. I wouldn't say that its speed of the song is lowering it, just that everything else, in my opinion, is better or has higher moments that outshine something like Heartbeat. That's really all it comes down to for me. White has the one song to himself, and it's Oversight. Oversight's pretty good, I can't even lie. I like a lot of the major melodies. I really enjoy the duet section where everything gets all intense. I love that bit. I love all the other melodies that play out, except I don't entirely love the slow part of the song. It feels like a pacing killer and takes me out of the song, and that's its biggest issue. But otherwise, everything else about this song is really good. I enjoy it. I guess White's chromatic is kind of, yeah, it is very similar to Red and Green. I don't necessarily know what the difference is between White's chromatic versus those two. I just feel like this one sounds different enough. Also, I guess White only having this song to themselves kind of helps, because it's more memorable, I guess. Huh. I don't know. I just think Oversight is a bop and it's very good.
So you call these things here chips instead of crispity, crunchy, munchy, cracker jack, snacker, nibbler, snap, crack and pop, Westpool, Chestershire, Shire, Queen's lovely, jubbly delights? That's a rather bit cringe, isn't it, bruv?
And here we have Chippin'. This is basically just chipping, but in my opinion it's better. Civil and Pip, I think that's their names, correct me if I'm wrong. They both sound decent. Their chromatics aren't anything like, oh my gosh, I love this chromatic. They're just like serviceable and pretty good. The beat is solid. I like the instrumental. There's a couple of fun melodies. I like the back and forth. I like the little voice lines added in. It adds a nice bit of charm to it. I just like the way this song sounds. I used to love this one. Like, I don't know what it was, but just this beat was so good for a long time. I don't consider it that good anymore. I just kind of look at this one and think, yeah, it's good. Not much past that.
What? Oh, that's a nice one. The one that started the whole thing.
There's Susasmugas, the big song. And by that I mean the OG, the original. Technically not. Alpha Mungus, which is what they renamed it to, is technically the original, but still, Susasmugas is the first song of the mod and it's the big one. It's like the most notable. And it still holds up pretty well to this day. This is the best version of the song, pretty easily. I enjoy a lot of the melodies, Red sounds good, I love the use of all of the Among Us sound effects to make this song. It's what gave the original mod so much charm, that they made the songs entirely using Among Us sound effects. Sadly, Imposter V4, a lot of the songs do not go that route, and instead act to be more traditional, with elements and a lot of sound effects being used, but it doesn't fully commit the way Red's Week did. Hell, even Sabotage didn't really feel as genuine as much as Susasmugas did, which is part of the reason I thought Sabotage was kinda mid. Susasmugas though? Nah, it's got its charm and it's got its catchiness. I love how during the entire ending stretch, where originally it felt very empty and kind of boring in the original, here they add more duet sections, which is honestly nice and it helps it feel a lot more full as a song. Which is good. Although, I guess it nearly being a 3-minute song is still a bit much, like maybe 2.5 minutes would have been better than this, but I guess I'm not complaining that much. It is the very first song of the mod, and I guess it's kind of like paying respects to the original mod to have it be a little bit on the longer side. It's just an iconic, classic song, and a very good version of it. Mondo has to be the most bouncy and fun and energetic song possibly in this entire OST. It's just so fun to listen to, honestly, it really is. Yellow's vocals have a really nice bounciness to it. The melody is very strong. It is reusing a lot of melodies. Yeah, it's kind of a remix of Susasmugas, for at least a large amount of it. Feels like it is. But I think this is done really well. Unlike Susasmugas, which just kind of felt like just a more restrained and a less special version of Susasmugas, Mondo just ends up sounding a lot better. It's super fun and full of life, something Susasmugas wasn't. And it ended up making me not only really like Mondo, but more than Susasmugas. My tongue is gonna twist from all of these repeating words. Goodness. I also really like the pop-off section. I think it sounds great. The song doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just overall a catchy song. Although it's not exactly scoring a lot of originality points necessarily, but I don't necessarily care because Mondo's just fun.
People are most afraid of one thing when it comes to communication. It tends to be this: I'm afraid to sound monotone.
And here we have Monotone Attack. This is a pretty interesting one, just looking at the song. It's all of the devs. At least I'm pretty sure that's who it all is. Correct me if I'm wrong. So there's... Correct me again if I get any of these names wrong. There's Clownfo, Monotone Doc, Biddle 3, and I think that's Jads? Or is it Japs? I'm sorry. His name I forget the most. Hi, Editing Neo here again. Hey, Recording Neo. His name is Fabs, you idiot. Ugh. Second time now I've had to correct you stupid. Anyways, it's pretty cool that they're all here. The instrumental is pretty solid. All 4 chromatics sound good. Biddle 3 is easily my favorite of the chromatics. I just really like the way it sounds. The other 3 are definitely good. However, I feel like they all kind of blend together a little too easily, and it makes it a little hard to tell who's who. All of the chromatics do sound good, like I said, and you can tell that there are different chromatics. It's just not the easiest thing in the world to tell who is who just based on audio alone. And I guess something else about this song that I don't entirely love is that, in my personal opinion, this is just a weaker Voting Time. Where Voting Time was very, very effective in capturing the tone of an Among Us meeting, and the beat was fast and energetic, and it sounded really good, and all of the vocals were unique enough to tell exactly who was who. Monotone Attack doesn't really have any of those strengths. However, it still has something that Voting Time does have. A really solid instrumental, and just a great beat all around. And the ending is also very good. I love the way it sounds. I just would rather be listening to Voting Time, which kind of makes Monotone Attack feel a little bit more forgettable for me. Still, just seeing the devs put themselves into a song for their mod is so funny to see, and it's kind of sad that no other big FNF mods do that. Like, no, seriously, when do they do that? This is the one time where I can think of where the devs put a full high-effort song with just them. Maybe I'm forgetting some time when that happened in a mod, but either way, it's charming that it happened anyway. Ejected. The one song from Green's Week that I really, truly loved. I say loved because that's past tense now. Nowadays I just really like it, but I don't love it. For a couple of little reasons, but we'll get there later. First, this cutscene is just really cool. I like it when songs get to start with a little cutscene. That's nice. The instrumental is really well made. Green's vocals, although a bit quiet, do sound decent and sound more unique than his prior chromatic, which was just Red's chromatic. At least this one is unique, you guys. Give Green that much credit. The opening beat is very strong. In fact, this whole opening minute is just very solid all around with very fun and catchy melodies. However, once that minute kind of starts reaching up and you start getting more towards the middle of the song, a lot of that energy kind of dies down. Which isn't necessarily a big problem, it just means that the ending is going to come back up to full energy, and that'll be really good, right? I'm sorry, but no, not really. If anything, after the big beginning part of the song, the whole thing just loses its energy and slowly starts going downhill. Which is a real big shame. I wouldn't say that any of the melodies are all that bad, though. They're all pretty catchy and they work strongly enough. Boyfriend's voice is a bit weird. Like, it's got a reverb effect on it, and it kind of makes his voice just sound a bit off. I don't exactly dislike it. I don't even mind it that much. It's just, when I think about it, it's like, why does he sound like that? I guess they were trying to capture the sound of, like, them falling through the sky, but I don't feel like it doesn't really sound like that to me. It more sounds like he's just kind of a robot or something. I used to love Ejected a lot more, but that love has since kind of died down. Still, a banger song, and easily my favorite out of Green's week. Because, I mean, hey, at least you can't say that this one is just a worse remix of one of Red's songs. That's more than the others can say. Finale. This certainly is a finale, alright. I love the melodies of this song, especially the high notes BF hits. Those parts of the song are the best parts of the song, and they sound amazing. This whole song really does capture the end of the journey. And I love that. The instrumental is great. I like the use of the choir in the background a lot. I love choirs in backgrounds. It sounds so good whenever it's audible. And Finale handles that really well. Black's vocals, that's my issue with the song. Look, Black's taken on this really cool form, but his chromatic is at its weakest here. Like, he just sounds too quiet. When the focus is on his vocals, it sounds really good. But, man, his vocals sound way too quiet when the instrumental is at its highest moments, and when BF is singing over him, it sounds hard to really hear Black as much as I wish I could. Otherwise, it's kind of the only real giant flaw with the song, and even then it's not that big of a flaw because I still love a lot of this song. The pop-offs are really good, especially with BF's high notes. However, the other thing that I did notice could be an issue for the song is that despite being the final song, it doesn't even reach 3 minutes, which definitely feels weird, but at the same time, I feel like if it went on for too long, it would just be dragged out, which I can't say is the case for this song. Could it be longer? Yeah, it could have been. Like, at least hitting 3 minutes would feel justified for this song. However, I'm not necessarily saying that its short length is a bad thing, it's just kind of confusing as to why this one is so short compared to songs like Brown's song or, I don't know, Identity Crisis. Hell, Danger feels longer than this one. Defeat feels longer than this one. I think they might be, I don't remember. I'm just saying Finale could have felt longer. But as it is a really good ending song. O2 is criminally underrated. So, Jorth... Yeah, no, I'm still not pronouncing that. Blue sounds good in this song. He just kind of sounds like a slightly more lively version of something like Red or Green, or even Yellow. I like that. The instrumental sounds nice. There's a good beat here. Although, admittedly, none of these melodies stick as well as I wish they could. However, it's a solid beginning. Then the alarm starts kicking in. Now, most of the time, you probably wouldn't even think about it or pay it much mind, because usually that's just a sound effect they use to add to the instrumental, since, like I've mentioned, Versus Imposter uses a lot of sound effects for its music. However, here, once Jorosui gets killed, or Blue gets killed, the alarm becomes the focus, and you realize that it wasn't part of the song, it was part of the story. And that shift in focus is really cool, and it's executed perfectly. And the second half is way too short because Red Mungus sounds good here, the instrumental is great, the melody is solid, it's just way too short. But I really like the little bit of storytelling that happens in a song like this. It just absolutely needed to be longer, and the first half could have been more memorable. Ow is... Oh boy, I love Ow. You know, I kept mentioning that some of these songs have a very special charm to them. Ow has charms in spades. I love how pretty much the entire song, and yes I mean that, the entire song is basically just Among Us sound effects. That was what made the original Versus Imposter so charming and continued to show through in its charm through mostly Red's week. Partially shining through in some other areas of the mod, but you know, mostly Red's week. And my goodness, golly gracious, because Ow is just that cranked up to an 11, and I love it. The beat is really fun and bouncy. It's so odd for an F&F song, but it works so well. It's short, but it's so sweet. Simple, yet executed so well. I can't help but have just a big old smile on my face from this song. I love it. It was so fun to hear a song like this, and the animations are also super cute and charming. I'd love that main beat especially. It's really good. It's a shame it's so short, but honestly, I think it's fine that it's as short as it is. It probably would have felt dragged out if they made it much longer. Henry Stickmin has easily the best week in the entire mod, and I refuse to believe otherwise. And we start with Titular, which is just... yeah. I love this one. Henry Stickmin's chromatic works really well on him and sounds good in all the songs he's in. I love the instrumental, it's such a jam. There's a really good, fun reference to the distraction dance, which I absolutely love to pieces. And Megalovania reference. Yeah, that's completely in character. The song just has a really nice charm to it, and there's a lot of fun references here. I love this one so much, but there's one very bad part of the song. The ending. I don't know why, but Henry Stickmin sounds like he's singing really fast, but the instrumental is going so slow, and it's really just... It contrasts way too much. Otherwise, I love this song for pretty much everything else about it, but immediately after the Megalovania haha funny bit, the song just kind of loses me for that ending stretch. I mean, the final turn saves it, but still, that whole little bit just doesn't sound good. Otherwise, it's one bad part of an otherwise amazing song.
And if Joy can't see that, well, then she's delusional.
Delusional? Of course I'm delusional!
Uh-oh, it's Gray again! Well, yes it is. But this time, he actually sounds good, and not like whatever the hell happened to him in the other songs. I really like Delusion. It's so good. The pop-off sounds amazing. Even though it sounds a lot like the Drowning theme, which apparently it wasn't intentional, but come on, that sounds way too similar. Either way, I'm not complaining, because it does sound amazing. I like Gray's vocals, as I mentioned. They almost sound like what happens when you jingle keys around. It sounds really good. The instrumental is amazing. The song doesn't feel too long, but it also doesn't feel too short. So this is kind of exactly what I was wanting from Gray. It is a bit repetitive, and the slow part doesn't have a ton of weight to it due to the instrumental still being way too high energy for this slow section to have enough effect. However, still a banger song that I enjoy very much. However, re-listening to Delusion just makes me wonder what the hell happened to his chromatic. There is no amount of convincing for me to believe that the chromatic they used on Gray for Delusion is the same chromatic they used in Blackout, Neurotic, and Pretender. I don't think I could ever believe that to be the case. It sounds way too different. Like, this sounds good, those sounded really bad. Like, what happened? Actually, what happened? Alright, Pink Wave is just awesome. I love this over-the-top energy that Pink Wave has. I love Pink's vocals. They pop off so well in a song like this. I love this instrumental. It's super fun and energetic. It's like Mondo, but cranked up to a 10. My gosh, do I love it. I especially love the little more intense part. That part's really good. The song feels like it's nailed its pacing in terms of how long it should be. 3 minutes is exactly how long this song needed to be. It's really good. There's so much good chemistry here with Pink's vocals and the instrumental. It's so good. But there is an issue here. I do feel like this song kinda gets a bit too repetitive. However, it's not a huge problem, because I do love this melody. Like I said, repetition won't bother me too much. if I love the melody. That being said, I still wouldn't say that I absolutely love Pink Wave. Like I said, it can be a little bit repetitive, and there are times where I listen to this song and I do feel like it's just too much. Like, this song barely gives you any minute to breathe, and 3 minutes of constant energy is a bit too much. Like I said, it should have been 3 minutes, but really this song needed some kind of low part, some kind of chill moment. And I don't feel like there wasn't even really much of an attempt. The whole song hits you with constant energy, and it's like, it all feels too much by the end. Honestly, I just wish it had a slower moment in it. It would probably help make it feel a little bit less one note, since similarly to Delusion, I don't feel like it ever stops. I mean, Pink Wave and Delusion were both made by Fluffy Hairs. At least I'm pretty sure that's still the composer's username, or I don't know. They both suffer from that similar problem of it's just too much for the entire song, and it needed some kind of point to breathe, and that would have helped make it feel a little bit better in terms of pacing and wouldn't have made it so one note. Otherwise, Pink Wave is amazing. There's a lot of great stuff here. I just see that there's potential room for more, for some improvements and whatnot.
I know what this looks like. I know what this looks like. I know what it looks like, and you're wrong!
And the first S tier we have is Meltdown, because my goodness golly gracious, I love Meltdown. Some will say, oh, this song is so overrated. I couldn't disagree more. I love this song, for a lot of reasons. For one, I really like how they handled Red's voice. You can kinda convey this sense of fear through just the small little chirps of his vocals. It's impressive, honestly. But really the star of the show here goes to BF. I think Boyfriend sounds perfectly fine throughout most of this mod, but this is the song where I think he's highlighted at his best, because these vocals for him are incredible. They're very satisfying, they have a great chemistry alongside Red's vocals. The echo is handled perfectly, it's not overbearing, it's not too obnoxious, it's handled just right, and I love that. The duets are all amazing and they sound great, and they're another highlight of the song for me. However, for a while I was thinking, maybe this is more of an A tier track. Sure, I really like it, but do I truly love it? I didn't know so much, but then there was one key moment that made me go, oh yeah, this is it. Yep, that's it. That build-up alone sealed the deal as this is an S-tier track, because my god, do I love that build-up. And then it leads into another duet. Yes, yes, yes! Ah! See, that's why Reactor disappointed me so much and why I lowered it so much on my list. It didn't have that peak build-up that Meltdown has. So, you remixed a song, and the best part of the original song, you didn't really do anything special with? Where have I heard that before? Yeah, obviously that was going to be a big detriment against that song. And it only made Meltdown shine so much more to me. There's just a few others that I consistently love a bit more.
How? How? How?
I don't know.
They named this character Toby Fox. Why did they do that? I have no idea. Or I guess I could say, I don't know the name of the song. Roll credits. Anyways, I don't know does not need to go this in with its beat. I could see if someone maybe thought that this character's vocals were annoying, but I don't care because I think they're so charming and they're just endearing in a weird sort of way. I love the absolute silliness, the bounciness, the fun. This reminds me of Hello Huggy in a way. Wait a minute. I wonder why. It's almost like it's the same person who made it. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this song to go unreasonably hard, but at the same time, in hindsight, it kind of makes sense. It's so fun, it's bouncy, energetic, I love it. It captures the silliness of Among Us in a really fun way that, I love it. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Only problem is, yeah, it's a little too short for my liking, but more importantly, this one is the most noticeably short. Like, it needed to be longer, because as it is, I am craving more of this song. So much more, and I just feel like I've only gotten half of its full potential. But regardless, that half was deliciously done, because, yo, it's so fun and good. Yeah, Henry Stickmin has the best week in this entire mod. I'm not. I already said it before, but like, yes, he just does. He just wins. And it's funny, because back in the day, I used to consider Reinforcements kind of a mid-song. I didn't get it for a while. And now I absolutely do. I'll get my big negative out of the way first. Actually, I have two negatives of this song. Number one, the opening turn sucks. It just sounds weird, and it doesn't really invite you into this fast-paced, energetic song very much, which is a big shame. However, only being one turn, I can let it slide, I guess. Plus, the rest of the song is just so dang catchy and so fun, so fast-paced. Henry's vocals work so well when they're fast. The instrumental is good, it's not going overboard, it's really nice, there's a lot of fun melodies here. But of course, the highlight of the song is, as everyone knows, Ellie joining in. This is the other negative of the song. Ellie is not in the song enough. She needed to have a longer segment. She just needed to. Ellie is one of my favorite. I mean, to be fair, Henry Stickmin has great characters all around. But man, Ellie should have been in the song for a much longer course of it, because she's kind of only in like the last big chunk of the song. Like half of it she's not there, and that's a real shame. She should have been it for longer. Like, she should have joined in closer to the beginning of the song, because her vocals are beautiful, but they're so underutilized, because, oh my gosh, I love them. I love how they're utilized. I want more of Ellie in this one. Henry and Emily have such good chemistry. Why can't we have more? Either way, Ellie steals the show, because, oh, every melody she sings is just gold. I adore the fast-paced, chaotic nature. It captures both of these two so well, and I absolutely love it to shreds, because it's just that good. I'm sorry that I didn't realize how good Reinforcements was in the past, but my gosh, it is so good! You can tell I'm smiling, right? I love this one!
Reginald, you want to explain why you vented in front of me?
No, he's lying. Everyone, he's lying. He's 100% lying. He's the one that vented. You guys really gonna fall for that?
Armed is a straight up banger of a song. I love this one. It has easily one of my favorite instrumentals. I guess maybe not my favorite instrumental, but definitely one of my favorite instrumentals from Versus Imposter. It is so good. Every instrument is working perfectly as it should. I really like a lot of the melodies. They're very good. There's a good amount of back and forth between the right-hand man and boyfriend. Speaking of which, the right-hand man sounds awesome. I love the way they handled his vocals. It's clean. Like, how could I not love his vocals? And then there's Reginald, which, cool, kinda neat that he's here. His chromatic, well, it definitely fits him. Let's go ahead and get that clear. I think they handled all of the Henry Stickmin chromatics really well in the sense that they fit the characters exactly as they should. They sound like the characters. So they got that right. I don't want to hear anyone saying, Charles doesn't sound like himself, or Reginald doesn't sound like himself, because you're wrong. Anyways, just because it fits doesn't always mean it sounds the best. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not about to say Reginald sounds bad, but I don't feel like he sounds great either. He's kind of the thing that holds the song back a little bit for me. I feel like his notes get cut off during parts where he should have longer notes. I like the chemistry that his vocals have with the right-hand man, although I just kind of wish that his vocals are slightly altered. I'm not really sure how. There's just something about him that doesn't... I don't know how to describe it. Still, the vocals are good. They just could be better. Otherwise, I still love a lot about Armed. Maybe it goes on for a little longer than it should, like nearly 3 minutes. I guess that's not bad. It's perfectly fine for a timer. Yeah, I just loved... Why do I keep saying loved? I love Armed. It's an amazing song and absolutely deserves a lot of the hype. Yes, you are seeing this right. Ashes is this high on my list. What are you gonna do about it? Why do you think I called this video Hot Take Hell? Because, not just because of some of the songs I don't like, but because of Ashes. I saw, when Imposter V4 was at its most popular, I saw nothing but everybody saying Ashes is the worst. Ashes sucks. Ashes is awful. Well, you know what? You can take that opinion, you can zip your mouth, lock it up, and throw away the key. Cause I ain't hearing it. Ashes is a banger and is criminally underrated. I adore Maroon's vocals in this song. This instrumental is one of the hardest hitting of the entire OST, and I stand by that. These melodies are so good. Boyfriend very rarely hits deep notes in FNF, but my golly gracious, because he hits these deep notes hard in a song like this. They're executed so well. Maroon's voice has a really nice slide to it. The pacing is so good, the pop-off hits! Like, yes! Yes! There's just one problem that I do admittedly have with Ashes. It's missing a final pop-off. Like, I really wanted something where the notes had a faster pace. Like, one fast section of the song to end it off, and that would have sealed the deal and made Ashes even higher. Because admittedly, I feel like that could boost this song for me. But as it stands, I will not ever be swayed when it comes to Ashes. Everyone can be mad all they want that I ranked this song as high as I did. But you know what? I don't care. Voting time. Dude, Warchief pops off in this song, I'm telling you, man. All 4 vocals are handled so well, especially Warchief and Red Mungus. They are really, really fun to listen to throughout the entire song. This beat is so good, it's catchy, it's tense and fun. This is exactly what I would think of when I think of traditional Among Us meeting translated into FNF music. It's handled so well, shockingly well. I cannot help but adore it. And hey, even the little white the other guy, yeah, I still cannot pronounce that guy's name. He sounds really good in the song too. His notes come out of basically nowhere, but he makes a very nice inclusion into the song. It doesn't feel too dragged out, it's not too long, it's definitely not too short. I think they nailed the pacing of the song. You have enough highlights, but then you have enough bits that slow it down and then go back to high notes. They handle that perfectly, which is something I can't say for a lot of the other songs. Boyfriend also sounds really good here too. Like, they handled everything with so much care and love. Like, it's just so good. This gets into your head so well. My gosh, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And I especially adore the ending with just how out of nowhere 0 to 100 it gets. Just like an original Among Us meeting in the game. Everybody's arguing, shouting over each other, trying to figure out what's going on. And then you realize the time's running out, everybody's yelling it out, and then you finally have to make that one last big brash decision. It's captured so well throughout this song, and I can't help but just smile the whole way through. Absolutely great song. Voting time should not be understood to just how catchy and fun it is. Maybe not the most memorable melodies in the world, but every melody still lands. And I love it. Great song all around.
I got the perfect plan. This is the greatest plan.
Where do I even begin with greatest plan? How about the fact that Charles and Henry have absolutely they have perfect chemistry with their vocals. It sounds incredible. The instrumental is amazingly well done. I absolutely love the back and forths. All of the melodies are really strong. The build-up is fire. They put in the wiki, and when you look at the images, they nicknamed Charles Choo Choo Charles, a reference to my favorite horror indie game ever made. Oh, that's hilarious, and I love that. It has nothing to do with the song. I just felt like mentioning that because it's really, really funny. Henry's vocals, they play off of Charles so well, and speaking of which, Charles sounds amazing. This song is so good. Oh, I absolutely adore Greatest Plan. I'll admit, it didn't win by a landslide, and Greatest Plan isn't perfect. I do think that after that build-up, it has kind of the similar problem of titular with the notes being too fast while the instrumental doesn't... It feels a little bit on the slow side for that one turn after the pop-off. Or the build-up, sorry. It's the pop-off that's the problem, if anything. But it doesn't bother me anywhere enough for me to not say that this song is anything besides number one. Because man, oh man, do I love the Greatest Plan. I guess you could say it was the greatest song. And that is it. That is all of Versus Imposter version 4. This was quite a mixed mod for me. On one hand, there was a lot of really good songs that I ended up enjoying a ton, but on the other hand, I definitely feel like this mod was way too ambitious. There's a lot of stuff here that really probably didn't need to be in the mod and ended up just kind of feeling like a waste of time to drag through. That mostly came down to free play songs. I feel like this mod didn't need that many free play songs, you know? Like, it should have been just content and stuck with what it had in its main weeks. And even then, weeks like Logos is Christmas and Tamungus, realistically, they could have been cut and probably would have maybe made the mod feel less bloated. Hell, you could even make an argument for getting rid of Jorsui's week, even though that's arguably one of the more popular ones. You could totally understand why it maybe could have been cut, just to save on not making the mod overstuffed. Because that's kinda what I felt like at the end of it all. I felt like it wasn't really all that worth it to go through everything. Granted, I did enjoy several songs. In fact, here's my tier list. As you can see, there's a lot of really good stuff here. In fact, most songs ended up in A tier. However, if you look down, you'll notice that there was a large amount of songs that ended up in C, D, F. And that's a pretty unfortunate loss. I used to love it a lot, because at the time there wasn't a lot of big mods like that. And it was really cool to see, and back then I had a bigger passion for this mod. But, I guess nowadays I just kind of look at this and think, of all the big FNF mods, I don't feel like this one aged the best. Still, a really good mod with a ton of passion, a ton of clear love dedicated to Among Us, and a lot of banger songs. So I guess it wasn't a complete miss. Just maybe a bit too much. Regardless, now that I have finally tackled this giant mega mod and finished up Hot Take Hell, I wonder what's next. Well, we'll see soon.